Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Ephraim Ebstein. He is a 30 million entrepreneur, IT strategist, and an AI integrator who helps business leaders transform their tech headaches into growth engines. As the founder and CEO of Fit Solutions, Ephraim built two national companies from the ground up and now advises organizations on scaling smarter, deploying AI to boost performance and avoiding costly cybersecurity mistakes. Known for breaking down complex systems into clear, actionable strategies, Ephraim delivers real-world insights that drive results. Whether you're navigating digital transformations, building a high-performing culture, or projecting your business into today's threat landscape. Ephraim, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, definitely super excited. And I always love to kind of see and hear some of the things that the people that come on the show, what they're doing and how they made it to get to this point.
I
Before
love it.
that, though, tell me a little bit about your upbringing and where are you originally from?
Yeah, man. I was born in San Francisco. My dad immigrated here when he was 30, and my mom was American, raised in San Francisco. And then I was born up there, and around 5 years old, they uh, wanted to come down to San Diego. My dad had lost his job, so that's where I grew up, down here in San Diego. I was kind of in Spring Valley, kind
Yeah,
of. I would say we definitely were not poor, but we were, a vacation was camping, you know what I mean?
got you.
Like, yeah, we were definitely middle class. There was times of struggle, times of that was a little better off, but that's kind of how I grew up. And my just kind of, like most middle class parents, kind of learn to, get a good career, take the safe path, find a good job, that kind of thing. And they were hard workers, both my parents, for sure. So, yeah, that's kind of my history, man.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you touched on that because I do believe, again, a lot of our parents and especially I would say probably more so if there's somebody in the family that came from a different country, right? Normally that's the path, right? Go to school, get a good education, graduate, stay, get a good job, and then stay in that company forever and ever and get that shiny object, right? And really, I believe that has shifted a lot, and especially when we're talking about technology, AI, and a lot of those different things, that has shifted a lot. Um, Before you got into all the things you're doing, and you obviously your biggest challenge was to be able to build something right from the ground up. Before we get into that, though, what was it for you in terms of that path? Obviously, your parents say, "Hey, go through that path, possibly," right? Did you end up going to college? Did you end up going to school? Do you get a degree? Are you or ever did anything with that degree? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I was probably more strategic as a teenager than most teenagers when it came to that. So I kind of was always thinking about the end goal. I didn't really know what it was. I did have one uncle in Germany. He was through marriage, married to my aunt, my dad's sister,
Hmm.
and he was wealthy.
Okay.
And he built a company from the ground up. So I didn't live around him, but I got to see him occasionally, and that was kind of a source of inspiration. So part of me was like, man, like
Yeah.
is there a way to do that? How can I do that? Like when you're young, you kind of don't know. But, and I even tried a little bit when I was like 17, I want to say, or 18. I dabbled around with like multi-level marketing and
Mm.
I didn't
Yep.
go so great. So I wasn't too happy with it, but um and I thought that was maybe starting a job. I just wasn't, I just didn't know. So, so I took the safe route. I actually wanted out of high school really bad. It was just boring to me. I felt like I was wasting my time. So what I did is I went to a charter school,
Okay.
homeschool, and at the time, really the only people that went to like homeschools were like delinquents that got like expelled and stuff, or
Mm.
really weird kids. There wasn't like a lot of
Yeah.
high achievers or normal kids going to charter school, but I didn't want a GED because I was like, I need my diploma. So what I did is when I went there, um, I started all the assignments, I doubled up the schoolwork so I could
Okay.
get done faster. So I graduated when I was 16.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And yeah, so I graduated like 2 years earlier. Um, so then once I was out, I was like, okay, now I can focus on like a career. And I didn't really know what to do. This is the late 90s. Um, and I just had no idea. So a lot of people, it's kind of like AI now. Everyone's like, "Oh, get into AI, it's the future."
Right.
That's what computers were. They're like, "Get into
Yep.
computers, it's the future."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll get into that." Who knows what that even meant because there's so many avenues of technology. But I got into like more of the repair, engineering, networking side of things, and I did like I went to like a trade school, got my degree, and when I got out, I wanted that, or actually, it was before I was even out. I was almost graduated, and I was like, dude, I'm good enough now. I should be able to get a job in the field. And I was trying and trying and trying, and man, 7 months went by. The dot-com bubble had burst, and there was a lot of way more experienced people in the fields that I was for the jobs I was applying for, also applying for the jobs, and they had experience that I didn't. I only had like my degree essentially. So after 7 months, no, I didn't get that many interviews, but the interviews I got, I felt like they always liked me, but they always tell me the same thing. Oh, you're just not experienced enough. So it was tough. It was really tough. And I tell people that still because
Right.
that's burnt into me. Like if people will ask me about, getting into cybersecurity or technology or whatever, AI, that first job, man,
The
that is the
hardest.
hardest
Yeah.
job to get. And what I ended up having to do is I had to work for free. I found an internship, unpaid internship. I don't even think you can do those in California anymore.
Yeah. Right.
And I treated it like a job. Like I went every day. It was about 20, it was a part-time job. It was probably like 25 hours a week. But I went every day. I worked really hard. And yeah, that was it, man. That's what I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting how, it's kind of like that double standard, right? You go to school and you have the theory, you have, the degrees, and you go through trade school and do all this stuff, right? But then specifically, I think you see that more on the maybe perhaps on the tech side of it, right? Or on the engineering side is it's good that you have that, but then they want the experience, right? And some
yeah,
places, if you have the experience but you don't have the degree, it's like, well, you got to go out and get the degree, right? So it's like
that's
always
right.
one or the other, right?
Always. Yeah, I mean, I tell people like I think for the most part, college is a scam, university is a scam. I mean, unless you're going to be a doctor or lawyer and you
I
have to
agree with
do
you.
it, nurse. Um, if you're, there's certain fields where like if you're that's where I'm going and be focused, get it done and stick with it. Don't go in debt for nothing. Don't waste your time for nothing.
Yeah.
College is not a place to figure it out. You're going to come out in debt and wasted time and still working at Starbucks. Like it's kind of the same thing. So I do like trade schools, but if you can skip schooling and you can get a skill through other means of training and get into a job, you're going to be way better off in 4 years getting paid and learning and moving up through the ranks than wasting your time with a degree, especially in the tech industries, man.
Yeah,
If you're a good programmer, good at networking, good at like cybersecurity, no one really cares about the degree you have. They maybe certifications they might care more about, which
right.
you can go test out for, but no one cares if you have a master's or a bachelor's. It's irrelevant.
Right. Yeah. And you obviously, you came out and I mean you did you were able to scale two national companies from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how you got into that. Obviously you say you tried to do multi-level marketing that didn't work out for you. So at one point you're like, hey, let me get back into this and do something, learn the AI or the cybersecurity aspect of the business. Tell me more about that experience and then how
Yeah,
you got into
yeah.
that.
So at that point I was turning 30, so I pretty much have been working in the field for at least, 12 years of experience. So I was experienced. I was pretty good. I was confident at like consulting and technology and solving problems. And I had a buddy and he's like, dude, why don't you start your own business? And obviously it was something I was wanted. So, when he said that, it really got me more and more thinking. And I was like, man, if I don't do it now,
Right.
when am I gonna do it? Like,
Yeah.
if I don't do it now, it's probably never gonna happen. So I was like, I am going to do this. I am going to make this decision and I'm gonna commit and I'm gonna figure it out. And I gotta tell you, man, that was like the scariest thing I ever did in my life by far. Like
Mm.
I didn't have much money saved at all, like virtually no money.
Yeah.
Was didn't like I have a nest egg. I was making good money, so I was making about around $100,000, which now $100,000 not that big of a deal. 2012, $100,000 was freaking big
Huge.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know what?
Probably, yeah,
Before you go on, I think that's a great point you just made right there. I think that's the biggest challenge that a lot of people might have, right? You have a lot of people that are essentially going to work and not really liking it, but they have you know just enough money. They're making good money, decent money,
yeah,
right? And so the fear of that is like, well, I rather have what we in quote unquote secure job, which really is not secure, right? That's
yep,
making me this much money, giving me these benefits, than going out and doing something that could serve me even better. But the fear, right, or the decision of I'm going to jump, I'm going to take this leap of faith and do this. And so I find that a lot of times that's the challenge. The challenge is making that decision. And like you said, you're scared and you're like, man, am I going to be able to actually make it? Did I believe in myself to actually make this work? Right. And that's
to
huge.
totally. And I was so nervous about it. And that's exactly what it was. I had golden handcuffs on me, right?
Yeah.
My standard of living had gone up. So yeah, we did some nice trips. We did,
Yeah.
I had a decent car for what it was, and I was like comfortable, and I was no longer uncomfortable. I had been uncomfortable for a long time, so now I was comfortable, and it's like, am I going to give that up
Right.
to go? And then the uncertainty of it. What if it doesn't work out? And what are people going to think? And what if I give up my job and then I can't get another one? It was so hard to get this, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things I did was I only knew a couple business owners, and I reached out to the couple that I did do, and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think I should do?" All of them said the exact same thing. They were like, "Absolutely, you need to go for it."
Mm,
And now I know because now when people ask me, I always say, I'm like, you gotta go for it.
right.
Like I see it. And I'm like, if you don't like it and you fail or whatever, like you can always go back to another job. It's not that bad. You're not gonna starve to death.
Right.
Nothing tragic is gonna happen. And what one guy even said, he's like, I know a lot of business owners that are not even close to as smart as you and they have businesses that are successful. If they can do it, you can do it. I
Right.
remember him telling me that, and I was like, "Oh man, that's kind of interesting." And the big difference, well, what was the difference if he was telling me I'm smarter than them, but they have a successful business? Those they're willing, they're willing to take a risk and do the work.
Right.
And so I started really thinking about like, what is the worst thing that could happen to me if this doesn't work out, right?
Mm.
And it was like, well, I have to go beg for my job back or go, you know, work some other job for a while that I don't like and take a reset. But it wasn't like nothing was that bad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm gonna make this leap. And I did. And I remember on month three, every month it's like, dude, are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it? Is the check's gonna come? Like, and I was hustling, working, busting my hump. And then on month three, like the checks are coming, everything was getting paid. I'm like, it's working, it's
Yeah.
working. Like I can do this, I can do
Right.
this. And yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, again, I think it goes back to that one thing, who you're asking for some advice means a lot, right? If you were to ask your coworker or maybe a friend that didn't believe on, being your own boss, like, no, no, don't leave. You're making good money. You're comfortable. Why would you? And I'm saying that because that happened to me when I took my leap of faith, and very similar, right? I was sitting with a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine from high school, and when I was just about ready to jump and take the leap and leave the job, the corporate job, is like, "Are you dumb? Are you stupid? Like, literally, you have everything. Like, why would you even do that, right?" And so he was trying to talk me out of it. And then when you're asking some of the people that have gone through that journey, like, yeah, like no brainer, like it's not gonna be an easy path yet, that is the path that you should take, especially if you're thinking and considering undoing that, right? And I do believe that. I do believe that there's, like you said, I think the biggest challenge people are gonna have is, if it's like a matter of life or death, where you're gonna lose your job, your life. Yeah, there's no going back. But I mean, I even tell people, if you want to go on the very drastic side, you lose your car, you lose your house, you lose everything. You still have your life. You can come back and do it again. So it's like, there's still hope. It's a matter of, do you have the skin to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. And I feel confident, like I feel very confident that if I had to start over, um, while it would be hard, like it's not easy, but I
Right.
know I could do it. I know I could do it. In fact, I'm kind of helping my brother do that. So my brother has been a firefighter
Okay.
and he's worked for the fire department and he injured his back and he's had three back surgeries now. And once you have back surgery, it's just
Yeah.
never right.
Right.
And so basically he can't be a firefighter anymore and his career was winding down and I told him like, hey dude, he's seen me, he's a big supporter of me and he's seen my success and as a firefighter, even if you're making a decent living, it's just a struggle, man, in Southern
Right.
California. Like you're just always broke. And
Yeah.
even because he's got a kid and everything. And so I'm like, and I've been coming up the last few years. And so I said, why don't we do something together? Yes, I could have you bring you in as an employee and give you a job, but instead, why don't we start a new business that is adjacent to the business, use the same branding, and pick up a new line of business, a new service offering that people need, which is AI integration. That's
Hmm.
like everybody wants AI,
Right.
but they want it integrated, they want it doing certain functions. So I said, let's integrate AI for companies, kind of similar. We do IT integration. Now let's do AI integration. We start that as a separate LLC. We're partners on it. I'll help guide you, but you got to do the heavy lifting
Yeah.
and this is my role, this is your role, and it's just an extension of my
Right.
larger organization. So that's what we've been doing, and he's been busting his hump. But same thing, starting from zero, no revenue. He didn't take a salary. So we had to like just like me, and build it from the ground up. And that business is gonna probably do $1 million this year in the
Nice.
first full year. And that's really cool, right? So to see that grow and that there's really like, with all the AI initiatives, there's just so much opportunity there as an integrator to just be doing all kinds of cool stuff. So we've just been growing growing the team associated with it, and it's been really fun. But I know, like you said, once you know the formula,
Right.
like you kind of always wonder when you hear these stories of these billionaires that go broke and then they do it again and they go broke and they do it again, and you're like, how could they be so lucky? And it's not luck.
Right.
It's a skill set.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you've this being able to take, you kind of talked about it with doing this with your brother right now, but being able to scale businesses, and you're kind of in the field of helping now entrepreneurs, and do all these different things. Let's talk about that a little bit. How does that come into play with what you're doing right now, right? Give me feedback on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love scaling business is great. And I feel confident redoing what I've already done. The hard thing is like, how do I scale my business and get new skill set to go beyond where I've already been? Because
Mm,
where I haven't been is where I don't know, because otherwise I would be there, right?
right.
So I have to figure that out. And that's always the learning angle. That's like where you're looking for mentors and you're figuring things out and you're like, okay, well, we got to, let's say 30, I did 30 million this year. How do I get 40 the next year? But in this case, our goals, we had low, medium, high goals. So
Yeah.
our logo was 35, medium, I want to say like 37, high 39. And we already crushed our low goal. So we're
Yeah.
gonna end this year between the medium and high goal, it looks like, but I'm still stretching for that high goal of like
Right.
39 million. But we're, regardless, even if we stop today, we'd probably end at the 30, 30, 37 million, something like that. So, but that from 30 to that's a big percentage wise, that's a big growth. So you
Right.
have to figure that out, figure new processes, systems, how to generate that revenue, how to maintain that revenue. Now, the same thing, as I go into next year, I'm going to want to be going into the 40s and getting to 50, and I want to go to 100. I'm going to go to, 300 at some point. And I have to figure that out, because being a CEO of $1 million company is different than a five, different than a 10,
Right.
different than a 20. And it just keeps being different. So you got to figure that out. And I love helping people that are, on the road up. Like, I can offer a lot to them because I've done that. But I also know if I'm in the room and there's a dude that has a 50 or 100, I shut up immediately, because all my knowledge is nothing in comparison to his. So I'm now trying to be the student,
Got
and
it.
I can shift from uh, that student to mentor to student really fast, because I'm constantly trying to learn to get to the next level. So I'm writing notes, I'm asking
Yeah.
questions,
Right.
I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah. What would you consider to be your niche right now? What is your expertise or your company's expertise?
Yeah, good question. So we have three primary revenue streams, where we make a lot of money. So we do the IT services. Obviously, that's kind of where we started our bread and butter. Then we built out a full dedicated cybersecurity team, does penetration testing, 24/7 cybersecurity monitoring, compliance consulting. And that company's been doing well. And then we have our AI business, where we specialize on the AI side. We have, I mean, AI integration, there's so many things, and we're starting to build on what we do. But our real strength there is we can take chatbots, we can get them to text, and we do all the integrations and all the workflows and all the automations. We set that up for companies so that when a chatbot is texting with a human, because people want to text, they want to commute over text.
Right.
But most of these chatbots, when you communicate, you know right away that this is, you're talking to a chatbot
Right.
immediately. And how do you get, but we can get them so good that people think they're talking to a human.
Got it.
And that's the real trick. And not only just get them tricking people to thinking they're talking to a human, getting it to actually do tasks through the conversation that are actually useful to the business so that it's reducing labor
Got
force
it.
that they need.
Yeah.
So all of that, takes a lot of interconnection, a lot of workflows, a lot of tasks. Yeah, there's no chat bot that's turnkey, and that's why they're actually starting to do like MIT recently did a thing, a huge study about failed AI implementations and how a lot of businesses are not getting the ROI on the AI investments. And a big part of that is there is an assumption because it's AI that it's just you turn it on and it works. You're like,
Right.
oh, it's artificial intelligence, it just works. But no, you want to train it about your business and you want it to, oh, you need it to do something to the invoice and you need it to do these tasks. There's a lot of high skill labor involved in kind of making that all work.
Got it. Got it. Let's take it a little bit further. Let's break it down a little bit on the three different, revenue streams, right? From the IT perspective, are you building the entire infrastructure, kind of networking, Cat 5, kind of all of that stuff? Or tell me more about that. What is it that exactly you guys going to do?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we basically become, for smaller businesses, we are basically the IT department. So we become
Gotcha.
the IT department. They're calling us. We're doing, you know, help desk support, engineering support.
Got it.
We're helping them with, every aspect of strategy, networking problems, everything. For larger companies,
Hardware too. Any
yeah,
kind of
hardware,
software,
deployment,
everything. Yeah.
everything. Yeah. But on this, once a company gets larger, let's say over 100 employees, they start to bring in
Insight.
some
Yeah.
of their oh yeah, they start taking stuff internal, that's just kind of the natural life cycle. So at that point, our role kind of shifts. We still have a role. We're not usually replaced completely because IT replaces a lot of what we're doing, but you always need strategic partner for certain things,
Yeah.
procurement orders, vendor for different software licenses, additional, spillover of projects or hours or expertise. So we kind of fall into that category for the larger companies.
Got you. And then in terms of the second revenue streams, what do you guys do there specifically?
Yeah, so on the cybersecurity, which has been a big one because there's so many data breaches,
Yeah.
around 2015, cybersecurity, I mean, it was a big thing, but it was growing rapidly. It was kind of the hottest field at the time. And so we were like, we had a customer that went through a cybersecurity penetration test, which is basically ethical hacking. And it was eye-opening being on the IT side
Yeah.
to see these experts go in there and just basically hack this network like it was nothing.
Wow.
And we were like, this was unbelievable. And then they taught us like how to fix those things and all of that. But we were immediately like, man, we need to get into this field. We need to be able to do what they did.
Right.
And so, you can't have both for checks and balances and resources and focus and everything, you need to have uh, separate team to really be focused on that cybersecurity side.
Right.
So we built out a pen testing team that could do that ethical hacking. And then and a lot of companies need that at least annual basis for compliance reasons. Even if you have an IT department, that's a third party activity. Like
Right.
everybody, everyone I know, every bit professional business, especially if you're under compliance, outsources that. So that's an example of a task. And then the other thing is that we built on the recurring revenue side is the 24/7 monitoring. So
Got it.
it's very expensive to staff internally a 24/7 shifts. You need at least like 6+ people, highly skilled, and it just doesn't really make sense for most of the companies. So, and even if they can build it, there's the liability side, it still makes a lot of sense to outsource it. So we built a 24/7 cybersecurity operations center where we can like basically become their cybersecurity team, just kind of like our IT can become an IT team for an organization. And we're doing that monitoring as well as consulting and things of that nature. But we're around the clock. And that's a pretty crazy business because we stop so many data breaches now. Like I remember when we started in 2015,
Yeah.
we were always stretching for examples of like where we stopped a data breach, once, twice a year. I think maybe in the first year there was one or two data breaches that we legitimately stopped, where it was like, oh, this was a
Yeah.
criminal, they got into the environment, not just an attack or something like, we're like criminal got in and we
Yeah.
figured it out, stopped it. There was maybe like two of those in 2015 or 16, and then maybe in 17 it was like four. Now we deal with that on like, I wouldn't say every day, but almost every day.
Wow.
Like what we had like 4 times, like major, like criminal connected to a network, started moving stuff around, like trying to stage ransomware, do a fraudulent wire or whatever.
Yeah.
We're dealing with that on the weekly now. That's
Yeah. And
like
I,
a
and I can only
regular,
imagine, right?
that's day in, day out.
Yeah,
We do
with
that
the
all the
amount of again with technology now and everything that's out there, I can see that happening. Um, are you ever able to pinpoint where they're happening or where that's coming from? Like if somebody's trying to breach, like can you identify if somebody's coming from whatever this country or this place?
time. Yeah, yes and no. So yeah, we can usually tell where they're connected in from, but most criminals they'll use like VPN connectivity into the United States so
Yeah,
it's easier to go undetected because if they connect in from like let's just say Russia and they connect in, you're gonna flag it really fast or you'll outright block it in a lot of cases. In other cases, so a VPN and then so it looks like, oh, they're coming from Virginia, but they're really not in Virginia.
right.
They're so there's that whole aspect to it. Some of the groups we deal with, the ones that are like really effective, really dangerous are these ransom groups, like Play is an example of a well-known one. We've dealt with them multiple times. And the way they run, they really operate like a legitimate business.
Hmm.
So they have an office, they have staff, they have very skilled engineers and analysts and like programmers, and they have an HR department. They get
Wow.
vacation, they get bonuses. That's how they operate. And they work as a team and they work very effectively against a lot of businesses, gaining footholds. And if once they get one person gets a foothold, other team members will come in and they simultaneously will be working to like one's exfiltrating data, one's staging ransomware, one is like finding backups and disabling them, so they can move really fast once they get in on that front, and they're really good. And they get a lot of companies, a lot. This stuff doesn't even make the news anymore, and it's less like the MGM or some crazy thing.
Right.
People are tired. It doesn't sell articles, so. But we deal with it. Regular businesses. We had a dentist office last week. They called us. The guy, he had just been hacked, and he's like, "Why? Why they? I don't understand. They don't hack small companies like us." And I'm like, "Yes, they do. That's
Right.
literally what they do all the time.
Yeah.
Like." That's the number one thing they do is smaller medium businesses. It's the easiest thing in the world, and they make a lot of money, and it works. And so, the way I can liken it, and people are like, well, how can these businesses operate like that? And the reason is they're allowed in a lot of the countries to operate like that. It's kind of like if you think about the pirates, you ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean and all of
Yep.
that. Well, a lot of those pirate ships were what were called privateers. So under the Crown of England, you could legally be a pirate as long as you didn't attack English ships.
Uh,
But you could attack all the Spanish ships you wanted. You could sink them, steal them, and blah blah. And I think you even had to share a certain percentage of the wins with the crown. But basically, you weren't a soldier. You were unofficial privateer. You ran your own crew and you made your own money, and you could get rich and you could die trying as well. But you were not prosecuted. You had safe harbor. Uh,
hmm.
you were not getting hung by England as long as you weren't attacking English ships, right? So you were papered up and ready to go. And that's how a lot of these countries treat these groups and these businesses. It's like, let's say you're in Russia. Well, we're not gonna, you can go undermine and steal from all the American companies. You're not officially part of the Russian government or anything, but we allow you. We don't put you in jail. We don't prosecute you. We don't help them investigate you. We just turn a blind eye. Just don't you dare touch one of our Russian companies, but you can do
Wow.
all the American companies you want, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of the same thing, or German or
Right.
French or whatever. So
Yeah.
these different companies, they operate exactly the same thing as the pirate privateer arrangement. That's exactly how it works in cyber.
Oh, that's crazy to even know that. But I can see that. I mean, I can see a lot of different people from different countries doing that. And I know even at a personal level, forget a company. I mean, I know that that happens a lot too, where people get into people's bank accounts
Yeah.
and take that. And I seen that firsthand that happens. So. That is crazy. So in terms of like people that you work with, I would assume that the for the cybersecurity is pretty much anywhere in the US.
Yes. Yes.
For is the IT support, more of the smaller companies will be local to San Diego or.
We're really national. So
Okay,
so we started getting into a lot of niches like senior living, assisted
gotcha.
living,
Yep,
skilled nursing, post-acute. And a lot of those operators have buildings throughout the United States. So that was the first venture that started forcing us going national. And
nice.
then it just, grew more and more and more and more. So that's really how we went national. And now we even have a little bit of international customers and we have even about a tenth of our company is actually international employees now too.
Oh wow, okay. Wow, that's huge. Okay. Do you have a specific niche of companies or people you want to work with?
Um, yes, so we're definitely business to business. We're looking for uh, more established businesses than startup, right?
Yeah.
Usually on the IT and cyber, it doesn't make sense until
Right.
you're over $5-10 million that you really start having that kind of money to afford and need those services. On the AI side, sometimes we can deal with smaller companies because it's like less man labor, all manpower, labor, all of that. But we have a few niches. We do on the IT side, we do a lot of in the healthcare and also law firms, especially on the cyber side. We do a lot of healthcare and law firms. And then on the AI side, the two things that we're typically looking for, it's not as niche in that sense, but it has to be a company that um, we build basically AI employees that do tasks, is what these chatbots essentially become. And there's two reasons that they'll work with us. So one is to replace labor. So we have to have a use case where we can say, hey, these are roles that we can replace with AI, not just a feature or whatever. Like this is like we're actually actively trying to reduce headcount here,
Mhm.
or not grow headcount. Maybe if the company doesn't want to let people go, so
Right.
that you scale, you don't have to replace or don't have to add. So there's that component, and then some businesses want it for revenue generation. Everyone gets these ads for AI revenue generation, AI sales team. They're mostly, I would say, 98% is bogus BS. We can legitimately create AI integration that does benefit on the revenue generation side, but there's a couple things they need or it won't work. So a couple things is um, we need to know how many dead leads or past customers are in their database because we have all the metrics and data for that. Say, okay, if there's enough in the numbers, we know if it can pay if the integration cost will pay for itself and make money or not.
Got it.
Or if they have a certain amount of leads coming in. So if they have a high volume of leads and they need to it's taking up a lot of time or they can't respond fast enough or it's too much impact for the sales team, that's a really good use case for AI. So that's another one. So anyway, it just comes down to the numbers. So we won't actually even take on a client if they don't meet on the revenue generation side unless we first go through the numbers.
Got it.
Um, and there's plenty of cases where we just say, no, we don't do it because we don't want to build an AI employee. Let's say it costs 30 grand to build it, and then it's like it can't generate 30 grand. It's not worth it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So, Ephraim, if people wanted to connect with you, find out, more about maybe, hey, I like to, getting something with you, in one of your businesses, and get your assistance, how can they contact you or where can they find you?
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, you can always reach out on the website, fitsolutions.biz. I'm on a lot of social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you just Google my name, connect with me on any of the platforms that you prefer, and I would love to connect and be friends. And if there's a problem I could solve, I'd love to talk about it.
For sure, for sure. And I have two last questions for you. The first one, I like to find out more about, you guys as the guest. What are your non-negotiables? What are the things that you do on a daily basis to kind of keep you up and running and going and killing it every day? What are your kind of like your rituals or habits?
Oh man, that's good. Okay, so okay, two huge things that keep me really going. That's really important. So one is on the fitness side. So virtually every day, I can't say without fail, right? But
Yeah.
almost every day, I get up at 5:30 and I go to the gym.
Yeah.
So I work out almost every day for an hour, and that's something that I can control, and I think is really important. Is being healthy is
Yep.
very, very important for the mind. So it's not just to look good, which of course I want to look good, but
Right.
that it's important. And then the other thing that's really important is writing goals down and visualizing goals. It somehow rewires the brain. A lot of
Mhm.
people call it manifesting, speaking it into existence. A lot of people use these kind of fanciful words. I don't like to say that. I think it is, there is kind of a mysterious magical side of it that happens that
Yeah.
can't quite be explained, that things that you put into the world will happen, but you also have to do the action towards it. It's not just, oh, I said it or I wrote it. But when you write it, particularly when you write it, more than just saying or thinking it, but when you write it, I feel you're reprogramming your brain and your subconscious. I think that's what's happening. If you
Yeah.
had to ask me scientifically what's
Yeah,
happening,
I
I don't.
definitely agree with that. I think Jim Rohn
Yeah,
talks about it too, and there's definitely, like you said, it's hard to explain, but there's definitely there's more retention and there's more stuff happening when you're actually putting pen to paper versus just saying that for sure.
yeah. It's kind of like I think if you were like training for a fight every day, and then one day you were in a dangerous situation and you were in a street fight, you're gonna do exactly what that training.
Right.
You without thinking, you're gonna do whatever you did, right? And so it's kind of the same way. You are training the mind for success essentially, and then you put yourself into these work situations and into opportunities, and your brain is just going to start reacting to what it thinks needs to happen here.
Right.
And it gets you on track. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my last question for you is for the people that are listening to us and are watching us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one or two advices that you can give them so they can start overcoming that challenge?
Man, if you're in a tough challenge, so the first thing, you got to take an inventory of the things you can control versus the things you cannot control.
Mm.
Start forgetting everything that you can't control. Do not give it your time and attention and thought. Immediately put all your energy and stress into the things you can control. You can control when you wake up, when you go to bed, what you eat, when you work out, what you're reading, what you're saying, what you're thinking. So control those things, and because that's all you can do. And then the second is find mentors,
Mm.
and not just your friend or your parents or whatever. You got to find someone that's way more successful than you are in this particular area that you need to get solved, and then go find that help.
I love that. Well, thank you again, Ephraim, for that. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Man, it was great. It was great syncing up with you, Caesar. I appreciate you having me on here, and yeah, I hope we'll do it again.
For sure, definitely. Well, thank you again for being here. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you go ahead and check him out. Connect with him in any of his social media handles. And then I will see you guys in the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Thank
Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like life is against you? Do you feel like you can't get ahead? Well, we have a podcast for you. You can overcome anything with Cesar Espino, real estate investor and real estate coach, NLP practitioner, and author of the book of the same name. Cesar will show you a way to overcome anything in your life through talking with people from all walks of life that have done just that. You Can Overcome Anything podcast available on Spreaker.com.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.